ministers from OPEC and non-OPEC oil producers, including Saudi Arabia and Russia, have now again agreed to extend production cuts to the end of 2018. They met in Vienna on Wednesday, but there are signals that they may review the deal when they meet again in June if the market overheats. With oil prices rallying above $60 a barrel, Russia has questioned the wisdom of extending existing cuts of 1.8 million barrels per day. As such, a move could prompt a spike in U.S. production. Russia needs much lower oil prices to balance its budget than OPEC's leader, Saudi Arabia, which is preparing a stock market listing for national energy champion Aramco next year and would hence benefit from pricier crude. Well, let's discuss this further. Of course, there's going to be a larger gathering tomorrow to discuss further details of this agreement. Energy analyst Bala Zakka is in the studio. Many thanks for your time, Mr. Zakka.
Thank you.
The 6 ministers have met today in Vienna, but of course, there's going to be a larger gathering tomorrow to further cement this agreement. But it seems we have 2 world powers involved in this agreement, mainly that's Russia and Saudi Arabia. As I said earlier, Russia needs needs lower prices more to balance its budget. But OPEC, on the other hand, it's for its big company, Aramco. What's your own take? Do you surely think there should be an extension in cut?
It's a question of a yes and a question of no. When you talk about powers, now in this case, you're trying to talk about world powers. Remember, Saudi Arabia belongs to the cartel called OPEC, the real energy cartel, while Russia is leading that other group, which we can classify as non-OPEC members, but want to this time around have a romance, with OPEC to make sure they control the crude oil price such that they can always make their marginal profits, and also making sure the price does not go so much up to the point where it becomes attractive for other non-OPEC members, especially countries that are domiciled with shale oil. Because shale oil is generally very expensive to produce. You use different techniques, fracking and other techniques that are not necessary for us to discuss here. So, but once the price becomes attractive, then the cost per barrel for them becomes encouraging and they can go into production. So when you look at it, at the end of the day, both of them are actually talking about congruency. Maybe the camp of the OPEC is saying, okay, we want higher prices. Then maybe the camp of Russia is saying, let's be conscious. By the time these prices get so high to a particular point, they will become attractive for these other people that produce what we call crude oil from tight sands, or this difficult crude oil to produce. And once it becomes attractive for them, they will now start producing, and we are likely to experience cyclical shocks and global glut.
But what's your own take on this, really?
As far as I'm concerned, it is good that now we are having OPEC members and non-OPEC members coming together to make sure they do something about energy prices. I will support the congruency because Nigeria is a member of OPEC. And I will also want them to be conscious such that they don't encourage those people who want to come and create global glut and scatter the market. So the lower the prices to a particular point, the more attractive, because it will make it unattractive for producers of crude from tight sands or shale oil or heavy crude to come into the market. But they mustn't go too low to the point where the cost per barrel will become unattractive, especially for a country like Nigeria, where we need some good money to boost our external reserve and to make sure we have some good dollar liquidity.
Of course, the market is just trying to get its balance.
Correct.
Truly. So, with what we are saying now, there definitely needs an extension in cuts.
Yes, which is definitely, as we speak now, in the favor of, because Nigeria, Iraq, and Libya, because of the different reasons for disruptions, are allowed to still continue producing. But it's good. What many of us are happy about is it's been long since other groups have been wanting to break that strength of OPEC. But we are now seeing OPEC still being strong or stronger, and other groups are trying to come and have, you know, a relationship. What people like us are interested in seeing is a win-win situation. The price at $60 per barrel looks fantastic. If remembering that about a year ago, it was as low as probably half the price. Like 30. So let the price at 60 look good, but let it not go below probably 40 or 30, where it will hurt everybody. It's definitely going to
affect a lot of budgets.
Exactly.
All right, after the break, Mr. Zakka, we'll be looking at the debate. We know Nigeria, Libya have been enjoying that exemption for some time now, but there's probably going to be a debate on capping that extension given to both of them.
Yes.
We'll talk more about that after the break.
No worries.
Stay with us on Business Tonight. Well, two sources familiar with OPEC talks say the group may debate capping Nigerian and Libyan output at 1.8 million barrels per day and 1 million barrel per day respectively, having exempted the two countries so far due to unrest and lower normal production volumes. Well, the production cuts have been in place since the start of 2017, that's this year, and helped halve an excess of global oil stocks, although those remain at 140 million barrels above the 5-year average. Well, that's according to OPEC. All right, there's going to be a lot of debate now going forward on whether to cap Nigeria and Libya outputs.
I think at this point, even if at the end of the day, a decision is taken to cap the production per day of Libya and Nigeria and probably Iraq, I will expect Nigeria, Libya and Iraq to still be grateful. Because this is just like a concession given to them of almost like a year, you know, for them to produce as much as possible, generate so much revenues. And that was done for them because they experienced different types of calamities internally. But let this capping, if at the end of the day there is a capping, let this capping also serve to make them understand that the essence of that concession was not for them to continue to allow internal calamities, you know, and be using the money that they have been getting to probably be buying arms or just trying to fight terrorists. The essence of that concession was for them to be able to recover, spend some good money on capital, you know, expenditures, see what they can do about human capital, see what they can do about health, see what they can do about education. But if you look at these three countries also that we're talking, or probably Libya and Nigeria, till today, you know, internal security, you know, terrorism, hostilities constitute a chunk of their budget. So it seems maybe instead of them looking inwards and doing something, they are all these concessions, they are probably still spending on just internal securities rather than doing something. So probably it's another way of saying, hey, we gave you that concession really so that you can recover and plan yourself. You know, but this time around, we will want you to tighten your belt. All right. But in a situation where also they allow it, maybe they felt probably that the internal hostility is such that they need to still be supported.
All right, to see how that goes, even whether or not they cap that exemption on those countries, we'll see how it goes with those countries and how
they felt probably that the internal hostility is such that they need to still be supported.
All right, to see how that goes, even whether or not they cap that exemption on those countries, we'll see how it goes with those countries and how they can well adjust.
Exactly, internally.
Internally, well.
But internal insecurities have really been eating so much into their budgets and revenues.
We'll have to leave it at that. Energy analyst Bala Zakka, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, as always.